Hi, it is the Human Operating System time. This channel is for education and technology. So in this channel, we investigate the ancient Chinese culture, which including the ancient Wing Chun culture. Today, I'd like to share with you a really critical topic for Wing Chun. Not only for Wing Chun today, but for Wing Chun in the future. So what happened is, since my book Resurrecting Wing Chun released weeks ago, there are many traditional Chinese martial art friends and Wing Chun friends have contacted me. Some agree with me on what I present here, some challenge me on what I present here in terms of the history. So today I like to get this thing straight once for all, cast in stone, for Wing Chuners and for the future generation to come, because they need to know this. Now, if we look at traditional Chinese martial arts, then traditional Chinese martial art have two parts. One is the tradition part, another part is the techniques or the technology part. There are two parts there, tradition and the technology. So the tradition is like, I remember my Sifu who taught me, and my Sifu remember his Sifu who taught him. So it's go up to the root. That's tradition, custom. On the other hand, the technology is, it has to have a characteristics or uniqueness, and how, what, why on this technology, because you need to implement it. It is a Chinese martial arts. Now, Chinese martial arts since ancient, if we want to do it properly, that's how it is. Because there's Chinese culture, ancient Chinese culture. Now, knowing this, if we say that Wing Chun is a traditional Chinese martial arts, let me ask you a question. When you go to Fatshan, China, where do you visit? Do you visit the Fine Jade Association, King Fa Hui Gun? Do you visit there? Have you ever been there if you call yourself a Wing Chuner? If no, why not? Why not? Because we keeping talking about Wing Chun is from Red Boat. Well, Red Boat, the Fine Jade, King Hua Wei Gun, now sitting in Fatshan, is the headquarters of the Red Boat, right? So if you really care for your ancestor, are you going to go there, make a bow, pay a respect? Or you go somewhere else? So if you want to go really traditional Chinese martial art, the really ancient traditional Chinese way, if you don't go to the Fine Jade, pay respect there, that just tell us that we are not practicing the tradition of the Chinese. We don't. Okay? That is just black and white, clear. Another thing is on the technology side. Ask our Wing Chuner today. Do we know the uniqueness, the what, why, how of the uniqueness of Wing Chun? Didn't everybody, even including in the movie, everybody said that Wing Chun is a sticking body, short strike, tip sam tuyến ta. So what it is? Well, if we look at it today, everybody say this is my Wing Chun, Hendrik's Wing Chun, Joe Wing Chun. So what is tradition, technology there? What is the uniqueness there? Even though we use the term, Wing Chun is for close quarter combat, sticking body, short strike, all sort of stuff. But do we practice what we preach? So if we don't go to pay respect to the fine jade on the red boot ancestor, we don't practice the what, why, how of the ancestor teach, what are we doing? What are we doing? Well, it is a serious question. See, if we want to say that it is a traditional Chinese martial art, then we follow the rules. If we don't, that's fine. Right? Now, so history is very important. A proper history based by evidence. Straighten the entire thing black and white. Now you look into past history of Wing Chun in the past few decades. Why is all this history and this history a different kind of story? You can find out one thing. Most of the history, I won't say all, most of the history is just to promote oneself as the authentic, the oldest. Did they care about the ancestor? What is the Chinese culture? Obviously they don't. They only care for themselves. Their stuff is the oldest, the most authentic, and probably that link into business. But do they care for the culture as well as us? Wing Chuners, when you go to Fatsan, China, do you go pay respect to the Wing Chun ancestor who fought for the people over there at 1850s uprising, who died for the people? Did anybody go there pay respects? Did anybody still remember them? And even making movie. Do you making movie using all kinds of story just to promote that movie or to promote your lineage, or you speak the truth? So, don't this need to be straightened out in terms of the Chinese tradition? Because like it or not, this is a culture, a Chinese culture, right? So what is the agenda on this thing? So history is not a tool for business. History is to search for the truth so that we know what exactly happened. We remember those who contribute. We remember what is going on. That is what history is for. Don't make it so difficult or make it so complex. Technology-wise, what is Wing Chun? Some say fighting is the same. All this punch and all this fist or this kick, they are all the same. Is it the same? Of course it's not. There is uniqueness there. It's not up for everybody's interpretations. So again, history is to find out what exactly happened. It's just like this calculator here. We need to find out what it is, the strength, the weakness, how this thing operates. Or else we don't even know what is this. So there is that simple. History, number one is remember who contribute, so that we can give them credit, pay respect to them. History is find out the what, why, how, what is a calculator, how to operate this calculator, so people can make use of this tool to help them. That's what history is about. Now, of course, there are many stories being created. Many people just create story because they think so, they believe so. Now, what written in this book is from 1850 to above. Then people ask me, hey Hendrik, how can you know that the 1850 is proper? Well, why do we know it's proper? Because historically, in the Chinese history, we can link this to Hong Sing Choi Lei Fat, who is supporting the uprising at that era. We have salutations, which is this thing is linking together, and we know that they both belong to the Fine Jet associations, which is the anti-Qing. We know at that time there is Taiping uprising, which is in the writing of 1850, there is Taiping. We know that there is a Red Boat uprising, and this group of people belong to the Heaven and Earth Society. And over here, 1850 writing, we know that the terminology of these people, the code of these people, is within the 1850. And we know that they all is from their members in Fine Jet associations of Fatsan. So from here, history-wise, we talk about Chinese history, not hearsay, okay? Not my Sifu said this, my grandmaster said this. You look into the history, you see how the data piece together. In history, that's what happened. Okay? Now, on the other hand, we know that Liang Zhan, Dr. Liang Zhan is around 1850. He exists around 1850s. As for Wang Wabo and Liang Yitai, we heard legends, but we really don't know. We don't know the evidence of if he really involved in Wing Chun. So because we don't know, we don't know. And for like Hong Xiu Cheng and all those other things, well, there's big question mark even today. If you go to Fatsan, talking to those researchers, you know those from 1850 to 1960, there are a lot of stories created and there are many things which is untraceable. However, we know this in 1850. We know this exists. We know they are related. Leong Zhan, we know they exist. So this is real. As for Wong Wah Po, Leong Yitai, how Leong Yitai share the pole and everything, so forth, it is not according to the history here. Because 1850s, Wing Chun have the 6.5 pole, which is completely different than whatever people thinking or presenting today. And yet this is following the history. So in the history part, on the people part, this is really clear here. Okay? As for whatever hearsay, history, legend here, unless we have data in the history, we really don't know. Now, technically, remember we talked about one is the tradition. So we know here. So we know 1850 stuff. Okay, what happened there? And technically, we know from the 1850s writing how the Shaolin sword strike is actually an offspring or influenced by the general Qi Ji Guang reform. This is the evidence. Mark it up, show what it is between these two. Between this and that, that's the writing. How the definitions and the teaching here explain or clarify further what is taught here in writing. So we know this entire thing is solid by evidence. Okay? So there is technical. So this thing is actually predated Leong Zhan. It's predated Leong Zhan. So this is what we know. Restricting Wing Chun is to present this thing solidly, technically, by evidence. Let the evidence speak by itself. And of course, there is evolution here after 1850s up to today. And there are bit or piece of this, such as fist issue from heart, still bit or piece fragmented, passing down to today. Plum flower footwork, plum blossom footwork, still from here, passed down to today. And in today, you can see many people interpret their way. But is it that? Well, like the plum flower, it is not that anymore. Because one needs to see the entire system. The entire system have the operating manual in order to operate this calculator. So here people might say, well, I think this is this way. I think fist issue from heart is using mind power and so forth, so forth, so forth. Well, so it is somebody's opinion. Does it support by other mechanics here? That is a big question. However, if we know this solidly, we really know Like I said, mind power. There is no mind power in here. Even up there to Buddhism, and so forth, you don't have the mind power today people talk about. And also the body conditioning, the structure is an evolution here. It is not this, and it is actually structure is not feeding into this. Because over here, as in this book, we know the Shaolin short strike is moving and striking in the same time, moving and attack in the same time. It is not about stepping technique. It is the entire thing keeping moving. And from that you can see a signature too. Like our brother here, Hong Seng Choi Lei Fa, it is keeping moving and striking. It is not step, strike, step, strike. You look into, say, White Crane Fujian, it is a different type of characteristics. How the Fujian White Crane doing it. You look into Tai Chi. Tai Chi don't move their three center together in like the Shaolin short strike. So we know from these two sides, this is very clear by evidence. And so history is for that. History is not Hendrik is the grandmaster. Hendrik is the older lineage. What lineage? What grandmaster? My agenda is very clear, very simple. Let's get this thing straight. What it is. If we don't even know this, what do we have? We don't have anything. We just have what? Guessing. Opinion. Interpretations. Living in our own world. So, don't the Wing Chuners today and Wing Chuners in the future, the coming future, deserve to know this? Didn't the ancestor deserve to be clear out? So that people know what is going on? So, this is why it is important to have a proper history. Do you think it is good for Leong Zhan if somebody say, "Hey, Leong Zhan, you are just using the Western's bare knuckle boxing, adding your some Qi Gong and make Wing Chun"? Do you think it's fair for Leong Zhan? Do you think it's fair for all people here? And over here you say, well, I have a structure, mind power. Is that fair for Leong Zhan? Fair for people here? Is it those tools, which is named as Wing Chun? How about the future generations? Are they going to follow you? Or they deserve to know what is the truth? And isn't it true that one needs to know this clearly in order to improve it, to master it, or to be proficient in it, to improve it? Without this improvement, you know it's going to die off. And with all this thing over here, evolution, well, sure, everybody have their freedom to do whatever they want. But will those things hold water when it get into the real tradition of the Chinese and the Chinese martial art technology? That's why I always say, you want to create your own style? Be like Bruce Lee, very respectable. Call it Jeet Kune Do. Don't call it XYZ Wing Chun, this Wing Chun, that Wing Chun. If you call XYZ Wing Chun, this Wing Chun, that Wing Chun, when you go to Fat San, do you go bow to or pay respect to the fine jade? Can you explain? Can you actually teach the what, why, how of the sticking body short strike, or the true meanings or the true technology of fist issue from heart and the plum flower steps? The answer, if it's no, then please use your own name to name your art. I can say, because I study Wing Chun and I study Judo, now I make my own Hendrix art. There's nothing wrong with it. But if I study Judo and Wing Chun and I don't know much about Wing Chun, I think so, I believe so, and then I call this Hendrix Wing Chun, then that is a problem. So this is what I'd like to share with you today. This is reality. Everybody deserves to know. Nobody should cover this thing up. If you want to cover this thing up, ask, what is the motive? What is the intention to cover this, like I show you in the history here? By evidence, let the evidence speak for itself. What is the point to cover that? So, first, if we want to go Chinese culture, then we know who we need to give respect to, who contribute going up. Also, we need to know exactly what is the technology, or else we don't know. So history is the serious stuff. History is the serious stuff. If we don't do it today, 100 years later, the historian, the martial artist will say, you guys living in 2020 or 2000 era, you guys are just for your own. Nobody really care. Just don't kidding, okay? Don't cheat. We see it clearly. So that's why it's our responsibility to get this out solid. And because we get this solid out, we know what is the pro and con, strength and weakness. We be proficient with it, and then we can grow. Without this, how can you grow? We need a base, a solid base, to be proficient and to grow. We simply cannot live under the, what do you call that, something which is come out from the blue, and you know it will not work. So this is to share with you today.